I always say I was a Pan-Africanist before I knew what Pan-Africanism was, because the red, black, and green flag just always naturally vibrated with me, even before joining the UNIA. And I grew up right around the corner. I grew up, I would say, the most significant childhood home where I lived, where I was from fourth grade until my junior year of college. Walking is probably one, two, three. It's literally about 6 blocks away from the UNIA, but I never knew it was there. I did not learn about the UNIA being where it was until I graduated from undergrad in 1997. So ironically, my mother bought all of my sneakers for school and for play right next door to the UNIA. So my whole life, we were going right next door to the Garvey movement, and I never knew it until I came out of college.
Now, for those who might know, what is Pan-Africanism? Explain the concept
Pan-Africanism,
of Pan-Africanism.
to sum it up in 4 principles, and Garveyism is simply the highest stage of Pan-Africanism. The first principle: all African people are one family. We believe in one race, one family, one people. So whether you in New York speaking English, whether you in South Africa speaking Zulu, whether you in Brazil speaking Portuguese, whether you in Haiti speaking French, wherever you are on this earth, if you descend from the original man and woman that the Creator put on African soil, then you are members of that original African family. And more importantly, we identify as being African family first. So that means that you're never a Christian who happens to be African. You're never a Muslim who happens to be African. You are African who happens to be a Muslim. You are African who happens to be Christian. Nothing supersedes your racial family identity. So the religion isn't first, the profession isn't first, your gang, your clique, your organization, your frat, nothing comes before the race. The race is the essential human family, and that's what we identify as first.
So Pan-Africanism would say that all black people are out of Africa. What do you say to people that say black people are the original people of the planet Earth, and we're not isolated to just coming out of Africa? What do you say to that?
Well, I don't think those two statements are mutually exclusive, in that we are the original people of the earth and we are the original people of every continent.
Here is our
But
Queen
your
Rodriguez
origin,
just joined us.
the origin and the beginning of mankind is the mother continent. And anyone who would dispute that, let's just go to the artifacts. Because anything sounds good when it's in theory. Anything sounds good when it's in philosophy. People can say, I was already in America, I was already over here. Okay, prove it with the artifacts. There is no artifact of a man or woman, modern man or woman, that is older than any of the artifacts found on the mother continent. So when we deal with it anthropologically, historically, culturally, we can just go to the artifacts. When you go to the artifacts, the argument is dead. When you
But
go to it genetically, the argument is dead. All
here's the
mankind.
thing, though. Who's giving us this information? Who's giving us these artifacts? Who's giving us this so-called DNA? This who they say was the bones and all that, Sally
Right.
or whatever their names are.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of this stuff, you know, honestly, if you trace it back, it kind of traces itself to Darwinism, the out of Africa theory, saying that evolution, and that black people, we came from monkeys and all of this type of nonsense, and that all people came from Africa because we were basically the more undeveloped people. And see, this is a way for white people to try to act like they are an improvement upon evolution. And there's a lot of people that say that they were some of the first ones to come with this with this with this theory, with this out of Africa theory. What do you feel
Okay.
about that?
Well, the out of Africa theory is not synonymous with Darwinism or the theory of evolution. Okay, as Pan-Africanists or any African scientists, we reject the notion that we came from monkeys. We flat out reject that. Okay.
Facts.
We also reject the notion that the African is a primitive version of the European. We reject that as well.
Facts.
Our research is not coming from Europeans. Our research is coming from Africans. In fact, one of the modern fathers of Pan-Africanism, His Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie I, his grandson is one of the leading anthropological and genetic scientists on the African continent, and he is actually responsible for discovering some of the oldest fossils of modern man on the continent. In fact, His Majesty's grandson unearthed African fossils that are older than the Denginesh fossil that was found in Ethiopia called Lucy by the Europeans, who was 2 million years old. His Majesty's grandson, Dr. Selassie I, found the remains of ancestors that were 8, 10, 12 million years old, much older than that of the so-called Lucy or the Denginesh. And then there were other African scientists, even more recently in West Africa and even in Central Africa, who found bones, the remains of Africans that can even challenge, okay, the latest dated fossils that Dr. Selassie I has found. So none of this science is coming from white people. This is all coming from Africans. We were first. And as I say, go to the artifacts.
Right.
Sometimes you have to deal in theory. Sometimes you have to deal in theory because you're short on evidence. We're not short on evidence when you're dealing with the origin of man.